Good evening. On Tuesday, November 5th, as most of our community knows, there was an election held for the positions of the Board of Assessment Appeals, Board of Education, and Board of Finance. Board of Finance, there were 3 seats open, and 3 community members were elected to the Board of Finance. And prior to the start of our meeting this evening, I would like to capture on camera for the viewing audience the swearing-in process. With that, I would like to invite Jeff Beatty, Attorney Jeff Beatty, member of the Board of Finance, to swear in Robert Hartman, newly elected.
Where do we go, Jeff?
Wherever you want. Right over the corner.
How about right in front of the flag? You raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that you will fulfill the duties of a member of the Board of Finance and Charter of the Town of Guilford and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard, Bob.
Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd also like to invite Attorney Bill Bloss, recently former Board of Education Chair, to swear in Megan Scanlon and Michael Ailes. Megan will go first.
Megan Fortune Scanlon, if you please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear or affirm, as the case may be, that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut, so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, the duties of a member of the Guilford Board of Finance to the best of your abilities.
I do.
Congratulations. Michael Ailes, would you please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear or affirm, as the case may be, that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut, so long as you will remain a citizen thereof, that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, the duties of the office of Guilford Board of Education to the best of your abilities.
Board of Finance.
I will. Board of Finance, I'm sorry. I'm used to the Board of Education.
We knew what he meant.
Yes, Board of Finance.
I will.
Congratulations.
Who said I change of jobs?
I'm just executing the
official paperwork.
official paperwork, and I will leave it to the chair to make sure that that gets filed with the town clerk.
Will do. Thank you.
Congratulations all.
Megan, congratulations. Bob, congratulations.
And to you.
To you as well. Thank you. So on behalf of the Board of Finance, I would like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Finance for Monday, November 18th, 2019 to order. The first item on the agenda this evening is election and appointments, which is typical after an election. For what I would like to do at this point is ask 1.1 on the agenda is election of chairman pro tempore.
I'd like to submit a motion to elect Veronica Wallace as the chairman pro tempore of our board.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Good evening. As election pro temp, I would like to call for nominations of chairman in accordance to Section 6-1 of the Guilford Town Charter. Are there any nominations?
Jeez.
I'd like to submit a motion.
You may, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll do it.
Our chairman has such a convoluted script here. I got lost in translation. I'd like to nominate for the chairmanship of the Board of Finance, not the Board of Education, the Board of Finance, Michael Ailes. Had the privilege of serving with Michael as on the board with Mike as chairman, and he's done a wonderful job for the 2 years in which he's occupied that post. And it's a matter of great pride for me to submit that nomination.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any other seconds?
I'd like to second. I just want to add, being the Board of Finance under your tenure, only knowing your tenure, I think you've done a great job. And I think he'll continue to do a great job and bring all of our points of view together. I think he did a great job under the pressures of the budget this cycle, and I look forward to working on another budget with you.
Are there any other nominations? Is there a motion to close the nominations?
Also move that.
Second.
All those in favor of closing the nominations for chair signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All those in favor of electing Michael Ailes as chairman of the Guilford Board of Finance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you. I will make one brief comment on that. I thank you all again for your trust. I took over this position a couple of years ago from our illustrious now First Selectman Matt Hoey. I have to always put that in there, who served as chair of this committee, this board for a very long time. And it's a great honor to be able to be in this position with all of you. And I will continue what I can do to make sure it's collaborative, and we're doing everything we can to make it make decisions on the best interests of the town of Guilford. So thank you. Item number 1.3, election of vice chairman in accordance with section 6-10 of the Guilford Town Charter. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Ken Gaverman. And I just want to add that I think you've done a great job. We've had great leadership from Ken over the years. You bring a lot of institutional knowledge, definitely helpful for me as a newer member. And I look forward to serving with you as...
Ditto.
Yeah.
I would like to second that motion. In kind of piggybacking on what you just said, as a newer member, I'm not so new anymore. But when I was a new member, Ken was my mentor on this board and gave me a lot of information. It's a privilege to be able to sit next to him during my tenure here on the Board of Finance, especially as chairman, to bounce things off of and have very nice breakfasts to talk about the town of Guilford and things that are going on here, especially when it comes to the board. So it's an honor to second your motion.
Thank you.
Do I hear any other nominations?
Move the nominations be closed.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing nominations?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor of Ken Gamerman as vice chairman of the Board of Finance?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Ken.
Thank you.
Item 1.4, appointment of clerk to the Board of Finance in accordance with section 6-1 of the Guilford Town Charter. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I would very much like to nominate Tracy Brinkman to be our clerk of the board. She has been an outstanding clerk, and it's not very easy. So I appreciate her efforts, and she does a stellar job, so I very happily nominate her.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll second that as well.
Okay.
And thank her for all the hard work.
Thank you. Any other, well, I don't think there'll be any other nominations. And there's just Tracy. So, I mean, really, do we really have to ask that? All in favor of Tracy Brinkman? Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Congratulations, Tracy. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Now that we're through with that pomp and circumstance, now we go on to item number 2, public forum. I wanted to say something very quickly. I know he doesn't like the fact that I'm going to say something, but I am going to do it anyway. There was a reason that Megan and I requested that William Bloss, former chairman of the Board of Education, swore us in today. I wanted to personally thank him for his service of 20 years, 12 years as the chair of the Board of Education. I think that your colleague Katie Balstracy said it best when I read it in the minutes, that your accomplishments on the Board of Education probably are just too numerous to even mention. But we didn't get a chance really as a board to thank you for your service. A lot of people on the Board of Education did, but I felt it was appropriate, and so did Megan, and I'm sure I'm speaking for the entire Board of Finance to thank you for your service. A lot has been accomplished, and it's been an honor to be in a position that I could be an elected official during your tenure on the Board of Education. And I just wanted to thank you for that and have that opportunity for us to say something for you or to you. So thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You're here.
Thank you.
Private citizen.
I actually also under public forum, I was going to do this under Board of Education, but I think someone would have mentioned it anyway. Gary Kaizen also was on the Board of Education for 8 years, and he was also recognized at the October Board of Education meeting, and I think it's appropriate also for us to thank him for his service. He did a fantastic job as, I believe, vice chairman of that board for 4 years, or regardless, he was vice chairman for at least a term, and he's a very, very collaborative gentleman who did a great job on the Board of Education. I think changed a lot of the just actually continued the collaboration that is well known on that board. So thank you, Gary Kaizen. Item number 3, approved minutes. We have 3.1, regular meeting minutes of October 21st, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, corrections? I did not see any.
I have one.
Did you have one, Joe?
Yeah, on page 4, at the top of the page under revenues, the paragraph that begins, Ms. Malavasi said revenues are on track. She added that while they appear further than last year was a little lower at this time because of a lower tax collection rate. I think what she meant was they appear lower than last year, if I'm remembering it correctly. Or higher. Higher than last year.
Tracy?
Mary Jane did not hear the question.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. The paragraph says that Ms. Malavasi said revenues are on track. She added that while they appear further than last year was a little lower at this time because of a lower tax collection rate. I think you meant to. I think what you said was they are higher than last year, but I'm not quite sure.
Could have,
As opposed
yes.
to further.
Right.
Just, it's a clarification.
Yeah.
Right.
What further actually meant.
Right.
I get it, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank
Abstain.
you, Bob. Okay. So I'm still getting used to this. It's changed the software a little bit, so. Okay, correspondence, number 4. Item number 1. Sorry, it's jumping around on me. I know it's standing building committee minutes.
3, is that 3, 4, 4?
4-1, standing building committee minutes. Anybody have anything on standing building? I should note that James DeMeo, who's a fairly recent member of the standing building committee, is our liaison this evening. We may have noticed that the building committee actually is looking to have liaisons here. I know it's been a bit of a struggle because of membership, but now that it's starting to get going on the committee side in terms of bringing more people in, there is a possibility of having liaisons now. So thank you for being here, James. Really appreciate it. At this point, I would entertain any questions for James for the building committee. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, we've been eagerly awaiting the update on performance contracting. We were told we would have it at the end of October. Then these minutes reflect a report of a new completion date of November 15th. Is it too soon, too early to ask you where we are on that report?
I haven't gotten an update on that. I know they were down to just a few punch list items on that as of November 5th. They had a new tech on site that seemed to be hammering out a lot of the loose ends and figuring out the details that a lot of the other techs struggled with. But again, I haven't heard whether they have actually hit their completion date of Friday or not.
Do you know when they'll hear?
Usually just at the monthly meeting is when we get updated.
As I did last time, after our last meeting, I actually sent a message to Linda and to Cliff just asking for an update. Cliff basically said the same thing, which is why I didn't send the email to everybody, because it said the same thing in the meeting minutes. He probably just copied it, which, as he should have done. So Linda, if you could ask Cliff on our behalf if he has an update on that completion date, that'd be great. Because I know it's literally, that was Friday and this is Monday, so.
Yeah, haven't heard much.
Even if it's next week, or if he's got, whenever he has a little bit of information on that completion date, that'd be great.
I noted that Mr. Sands was at that meeting, and he's been kind of carrying the ball for the Board of Education on this, and what we're concerned with is how close we are to meeting the goals that were set by Johnson Controls. I mean, is there some strong need for
We do have
support?
a meeting scheduled with Johnson Controls for early December regarding the savings and where we are with that, now that most of the items are complete. So we should have some information by your December meeting on where we are with that.
Now, it was a different time and a different age, but there are those of us survivors who still remember difficulties with the old Johnson Controls, so we're hoping that this is going to be a different story.
And over the years, it's become a new and improved Johnson Controls.
New and
Now they just have to make sure they prove it.
Yep.
And the difference in contracts is there are guaranteed savings built into this one,
Yes.
commitment, as opposed to what we did back, I hate to say this, Ken, back in the early 90s.
It wasn't that long ago.
In the
Oh,
pre-period
yes, it
days.
was. Yes, it was.
I have a follow-up question here.
Good.
I'm hoping I'm understanding this because my memory's starting to fail me, but there was an engineering contract where they're going to do the measurements to determine if we're on track with the performance. And I believe it was for 2 years? They were going to take measurements or?
Performance guarantees are for the life of the contract.
No, I meant the contract to actually have the.
Before you actually have the
engineering
data.
company perform the measurements, collect data.
That's our contract with our owner's rep, and that 2 years doesn't trigger until we have a substantially complete date
Okay.
for the work itself.
And you read my mind. That was my question. Will it
You got it.
extend after they finally complete it? Okay.
Is it fair to say that substantial completion date would be November 15th, or has it already occurred?
I think it's already occurred. Substantially complete was earlier this year.
Okay.
We've got 2 years with this.
So these, yeah.
In fact, ECG is meeting with us, with Eversource, and with Johnson Controls next week relative to some questions we have over the streetlight project that was just recently completed.
All right. Linda, you were going to mention that meeting. Is that what that was?
That's 2 different meetings.
It's 2 different meetings. Oh,
2 different meetings.
Okay, all right.
So is there a date known when they'll start reporting to us their measurements and their analysis? Or-
So as soon as they finish the punch list items and complete the stuff at the Board of Education.
Okay.
Anything else on the standing building?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
On item 6 on the turf field, that they're working on a final compromise, and I'm just curious as to who is going to be financially responsible for the costs on that.
We successfully negotiated the arrangement. Like the previous understanding that, the previous agreement that we reached, we will not be disclosing the terms because it is still under the mediation agreement. However, the infill will be replaced and will be spread within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
And the Guilford taxpayer is not paying for it. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah. It's part of the agreement. Thank you. Yeah.
And that's the last item that needs to be addressed.
That's it.
That's exactly what James was going to say, I know. Word for word. Anything else on building committee?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
be happy to pitch in just a little more. On item 8, HVAC upgrades at Baldwin Middle School. I see that the Standing Building Committee approved 2 change orders that together added up to about $46,000. Is that fully acceptable by people? Why did we have those additional changes?
So we had complaints that the orchestra room was not quite as comfortable as the rest of the school. Turns out the original building didn't have any return ducts into it, so it was just kind of supplying air and just kind of staying stagnant in there. So they're cutting in a couple of transfer grills in there, and then also kind of the same issues in 3 locations, 2 in the lobby area and 1 in the library. So they're adding 3 VAV boxes, 1 for each of those areas, in order to better address those certain areas of the school.
These were not anticipated going in,
No,
these changes.
no, these are additional.
At this morning's Board of Selectmen meeting, we asked very similar questions, why, we were at change order number 10. It was explained to us that at least 3 of those change orders were directly result of the decision the Board of Education made to create new classrooms there, which necessitated changing from the original spec. Not all of those 10 change orders have been accepted. There were 2 of them, I understand, that were replaced with different ones, but the process is, once you identify a change order that has that tag or that label for its lifetime and beyond. When questioned, Mr. Gurnham indicated that a project of this size, over $1.5 million, that number of change orders is not unusual. Because he was responding to a question about whether or not the engineering was done effectively or not. And he feels it was, but between those changes that the Board of Education made and then just general changes in any contract of that size or project of that scope was reasonable.
Yeah, that's very good information. Yes, basically program-driven change orders.
And lastly, they're within the contingency of the project.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was mentioned here, that even with those change orders, there's still about $350,000 left, which, again, we don't want to spend it all if we don't have to, but there's still quite a bit of cushion in there, which is good. Means we got good pricing in the first place, so. Okay. Anything else on building committee?
I had one on 12 under old business. With the HVAC upgrades, Mr. Gurnham noted that the plans called for the replacement of the pumps, and then he noted that they will know if the issue with the boiler regulators was resolved when there was cold weather. We've had a little cold weather. I was just wondering if there was any resolution as to whether or not the issue was taken care of.
I haven't heard anything. Again, usually we're updated once a month at the meetings, so as of November 5th, I haven't heard anything.
Well, if you could bring that back as a question to the building committee, I think as long as we get maybe the answer in the December.
That'd be fine.
Minutes. Depending on how cold does it have to get for cold weather to figure out the issue, if it's corrected. Anything further? Okay.
I guess we're looking for a facility needs assessment report coming down from the Board of Ed. Is that
An
going to
update.
is that going to be updated at the December meeting that we're having with you?
There was something about the facility needs assessment being updated.
So,
Katie.
we discussed this at the most recent operations meeting. The
Right.
last report we had done approximately
About
10 years ago
Mm-hmm.
was incredibly helpful in guiding and prioritizing projects over the past 10 years in terms of building needs. So we discussed but did not finalize the idea of kind of getting another similar type assessment done so that we can think effectively and appropriately long-term for our buildings.
While we're on that subject, the facility needs assessment that was done 10 years ago, I remember, again, it was a while ago, but being part of that, it was kind of volunteer-driven. There were seemed like a lot of volunteers went out and actually helped collect information. It was and then it was collected by, there was a consultant, but there was a volunteer effort to collect data and then disseminate that into a report. Do you know if there's an assessment, proposal in terms of cost and bringing a consultant in?
There is
Has it gotten that far in discussion yet, or?
Yeah, there is a proposal for an update. If we include all 7 schools, it's just under $30,000 to do that. If we leave out the high school, it's about $23,000 to do an update.
But it would be an outside consultant?
It would be an
coming
outside
in to do that.
consultant.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And I think our thought, I mean, again, we haven't made a final decision, but while it seems like the high school is brand new, right, it's actually 5 years old, and over the next 10 years will become 15 years old. So I think one of the things we're going to want to think carefully about is making sure we take care of that building, as well as the other 6.
Right.
And we are looking forward to a school bonding proposal. We're going to get first glimpse of that next month at our joint meeting.
I believe we are looking at that.
Yes. I don't know if you would have it at your next meeting. You will have it when you receive your budget book.
January.
Beginning
Yes.
of January.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excuse me, the last paragraph under section 13, and James, if you bring this back to the board, Mr. Tyree, who is interested in joining the board, need not have to get a recommendation from one of the 2 political parties. If he does not have those kind of relationships and wants to come directly to the Board of Selectmen, would be welcome to his involvement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, we're going on to Pension Committee. Item number 2, Pension Committee minutes. We have the minutes from October 16th, and we have the reports of August and September of this year. I did notice that the draft OPEB investment policy statement was provided to the committee, so that's the draft of it.
Just for informational purposes.
Right. So that's, but again, forward moving.
It'll be managed slightly differently than our current setup with $67 million-ish in it. It'll be a smaller amount, it'll be streamlined, it'll also be under the auspices of our advisors, FIA. The Pension Committee will still oversee it and advise the Board of Selectmen accordingly. So at this point, we're just waiting. The mechanics seem quite simple. It's a streamlined version of what is already being undertaken. Should be quite simple.
Thank you.
And I'll just note, Mr. Chairman, that you'll be hearing from us shortly. We will be having that meeting that we had talked about. We have met all requirements for the dual representation between the Board of Ed and the Selectmen, so we're able to move forward with that meeting. You'll be hearing from us.
Great. Thank you. I would be remiss in not thanking our now another illustrious colleague.
Yeah, thank you.
Bob Hartman is serving. How many years did you serve on the Pension Committee?
Oh, not long at all, 3 or 4 years, but I was glad to hear that at this morning's meeting, with my departure, we were down to 2 members out of 5.
Right.
But this morning, I understand two were appointed.
Oh, that's great. Great.
Do we have a new
Good
chairman
news.
over there?
That means we have a quorum for Wednesday.
And that quite gets, well,
Just in time.
well, just barely. Peter's out of town. He goes to Rome tomorrow.
We might not.
But, yeah, just in the nick of time.
We still have one more opening.
Who are the two members?
Peter Golitz.
Peter Golitz, a former member of this board.
Great.
And Deborah
Great.
Spalding,
Okay.
who is the former Chief Investment Officer of the State of Connecticut Pension Fund.
Great. Congratulations to both. That's great to hear. That's really great to hear.
Great additions.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you again for your service in that. But we're glad to have you.
It's my pleasure. It was an honor.
Their losses are definitely our gains. So thank
I
you.
must tell you, it was a fabulous committee. It was led by Patrick Smith. When I was there, we were sad to see him go. Our results as of last month are up 11.6% this year in a conservatively managed portfolio. I think the committee did a great job for town of Guilford and its employees in the pension plan, and long may it last.
I was curious if you guys could elaborate on these amendments. I saw them mentioned in the minutes. I was just curious if you could give us a little blurb on what's the nature of the amendments.
primarily cleanup of the language in the pension plan document based on the successful negotiation of contracts with our respective unions and their employees.
Typically, you have a base agreement that gets amended over the years, and in order to go back and look at the core agreement, you had to file backwards through the amendments. So now they've all been incorporated into one core agreement.
Better organized.
Much better organized.
Yes,
They found some things that needed slight corrections because they were at odds with one another. So it was a very good process.
The interesting part of that process is the units themselves, they know the contract better than we do. So this is, again, nothing was of substance that changed benefits or anything. It was largely language and process related, so.
Okay.
And to your point, Mr. Selectman, the unions were a part of the whole process.
They absolutely were.
Right.
Well,
And there's other amendments under current review also.
Yes,
So
there are.
coming forth to the pension committee and then,
Never stop.
right.
yep. Okay.
One of the challenges is, as we go forward, is we anticipate updating them on a more regular basis, not wait until we have a couple of years worth of contract negotiations. So update them. My plan currently is within 6 months of the settlement of any contract that the pension document needs to be updated to reflect any of those changes.
I'll finally add that I was very pleased with the process. Mitch Goldblatt did a great job because what came out of this is a realization that we're all on the same side. And any anxiety or any tensions were relieved. So it's a positive process.
Anything else on pension? Okay, moving on. Item number 5, review and accept report of expenditures for the Board of Education for October 2019. Linda Trudeau, Katie Balstracy. As they are moving their way up to the table, would like to congratulate Dr. Balstracy.
Thank you, sir.
Taking over as chairwoman
That's okay.
of the Board of Education.
Thank you.
And no sooner you become chair, you are right in front of us to do the
Right
report.
here to do the report. Happy to be here.
Well, happy to have you.
So the expenditures for the month of October for the Board of Education were $4,441,993.60. Expenditures and encumbrances through the end of September were 28.42% of the budget as compared to 27.35% in the prior year. You'll note different categories mentioned here and note that most of the variance is due to timing of bills, et cetera. I also reviewed the warrants for the month. The total payments listed in the warrants is $1,847,664.38. So I'm certainly happy to take questions about any of those details, and certainly Linda.
See, tuition is 25% down? Is that realistic, or is that timing?
We don't have obviously the minutes yet. In our most recent meeting, it has already changed a little bit, so we're a little bit over. As you know, this is a line that continually is challenging to us in terms of estimating ahead of time. But at the moment, I think we're looking quite good, and we are keeping an eye out. Do you want to add anything, Linda?
No, I did hand out a copy of the tuition report to you before. So last month we were under budget, this month we're over budget, but as of this morning, I heard of another change that is going to save us almost $50,000. So it fluctuates. We're monitoring it, and it's ever-changing.
And as a reminder, although the report says that we're lower than last year, which we are,
Yes.
it's because the budget was lower than it should have been, and
Right.
we corrected that this year. So we're on a much better track
Yes,
than we were.
absolutely.
We were at 61% expended last year at
that's
this
right.
time. So
That's right.
we're in better shape, based on the way it was budgeted. So.
This time last year, I was already panicking, and
Right.
it was looking at almost $600,000 over budget. So this is much better.
Okay. Let's see. All right, anything on the financials?
Yeah,
Or just, we can go right into the warrants?
no, I have something on capital.
While Ken is looking for his question, it's related but not related, but I've been wondering, Guilford Lakes, every month we have emergency repairs to their heating system. So I was just curious how they're doing right now since the weather has turned cold. Is the heat operating good, or do we still have issues up there?
I haven't heard anything specifically about lakes, but I can double check on it. Not one of the areas that I've heard anything about, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's going good.
Yeah, likewise.
And the instructional equipment on, under capital, that's, seems to be a high number. It's almost 3 times as much as was budgeted.
All right, we will
lease.
get a lot of that back from the technology lease.
I see.
Actually, you will see it go down next month. So we received a lot of money back from the technology lease for purchases that we've made so far this year.
Can you just clarify that for me? You're getting money back from the technology?
Right, so we did a technology lease for $350,000 of equipment. We buy the equipment, we pay it up front. We submit proof of payment to the leasing company, they give us the money back. And then we pay back that $350,000 over 5 years to a leasing company. So we own the equipment, it's not a leased equipment. It's just a funding mechanism to purchase more equipment in a year and spread out the payments over multiple years.
Do you get approximately the whole 350 back?
Well, we will get all the $350 back, and then,
Paid out over the 5 years?
yeah,
Okay.
We get it
So
back.
I probably explained that before.
yeah, that's okay.
I see. 350,000 back is good news.
Right. But, so right now we have 5 leases open. So we're making payments on, over 5 different leases. And most of them we pay out at the beginning of the year. So we make the leasing payments, and then some of that stuff we've purchased over the past 5 years, 4 years.
Okay. Thank you.
There were 2 things I just wanted to note, just in case the audience didn't see it about the high school. One about the National Blue Ribbon School.
Yes.
So congratulations on that. That's great news. I think it was in the paper as well.
Yes,
already, so
yes. So one
That's
of
great.
Guilford High School, again, a 2019 National Blue Ribbon School, the only high school in Connecticut with that recognition, and one of 4 schools in the state. Superintendent Freeman and 2 or 3 others were down in Washington end of last week to receive that award.
And the other thing, and I did, well, actually there was something else, but to stay on the high school.
Yeah.
Principal Macenti has
Yes.
provided his notice.
He has.
But thankfully, he's given some time, so that was good that he's through next
June.
October 20, was it October 2020?
Yeah, so
it's
that's
given
right.
a lot of time
A
for us
lot
to
of
find a
time.
replacement, which is
Right.
that's great that he
Right.
did
So
that.
Rick Macenti has been the principal for 13 years. I mean, he's really put in a lot of...
He's been a force.
a lot of time, energy, commitment, caring. He has obviously overseen the building of the new high school. He has the implementation of the IB program, and again, this most recent recognition for the National Blue Ribbon. So we owe him a huge debt of gratitude,
That's
and
true.
they will be hard shoes to fill, but that is certainly going to be a major prioritization task moving forward. But yes, he is. So he has given us a lot of notice, which is terrific, and will be part of transitioning a new hire as well.
Yes.
Question on the warrant.
Good.
To my friends at Johnson Controls, on page 8 for the high school, non-contract service calls. $3,600. Is this outside of the parameters of,
Yeah, these are things that are outside of that energy contract. So, you know, parts.
Maintenance.
It's
yeah,
not
maintenance-
affected by-
maintenance in
Maintenance
the high school.
replacement of the,
Okay.
That's right.
yeah, controls. I found the workshop meeting of October 28th. There was a workshop, or there was the budget, I want to make sure I get it right. The operations budget forum.
Right, public forum
Public
at
input.
Adams. Mhm.
That was on the 23rd.
Mhm.
It looked like there were a few comments. Most seemed to be art, which was the same as last year. Art
That's right,
time.
that's right.
Sailing club was brought up, some additional monies for the swim team.
Yes.
And continuation supporting music.
Mhm.
That was on the 23rd, and then on the 28th, there was some recap of some of the possible budget inclusions. The one thing I noticed is on Baldwin, it said facilities, and it said move coaching up through 8th grade. Is that math coaching? Is that my assumption on that? Is that correct, or? Because it had the schools listed, and said Baldwin facilities, move coaching, and then it had a semicolon, then move coaching up through 8th grade.
Right. So this is, right, so
Is it-
our October 28th meeting was,
Right.
right?
Item
with our-
6.
Right, with our district leadership. So this is an opportunity, right, for administrators at each of the schools to share with the Board of Ed things that they would like to see in the budget.
Mhm.
So one of the things, when we talk about coaching, right, this group knows that within the instructional setting, we're talking about usually math and literacy coaches. So this is bringing that up through Adams.
And I bring that up simply as a prep for us, as we're looking, that this comes from the October minutes of the items that were from the DLT to consider.
Right.
And I just
these
wanted
are-
to clarify what coaching was, because every once in a
No,
while
that's
we get
absolutely
the-
right.
Is
It's
it
a
math,
term
is it
that
literacy, or is it athletic? And I think we
No,
know
this
now
is
it's not
instructional,
athletic.
right.
But
This
I
is
didn't know if it was math or
instructional
literacy.
coding. No, this is instructional
Okay,
coding.
just want to make sure.
I wasn't at that meeting, so I don't know if they specified math or.
are we going through the operation committee?
Oh, Baldwin Facilities, I think we're
On the
talking about.
October 20th.
I don't know if it was math or literacy.
Literacy.
I don't
Well,
see
we
that.
can get
I
back
see
to you on the
October 15th.
specifics.
And again, just so the audience is aware, the coaching is a form of professional development as well. I mean, it's not a
Absolutely.
replacement of all the professional development, but it's designed to be continual professional development in
Absolutely.
the schools throughout the school year.
So it allows, thank you, Jeff, it allows for in-house professional development that can happen in real time sometimes, and replaces a fair amount of what would otherwise be, right, professional development that was happening outside of the building. We would be sending people outside the building. I will say that it is something every year that we hear from the district leadership team is an incredibly effective approach. I mean, they just find it one of the most valuable things in helping teachers provide the best instruction that we can to our kids.
Comment on the operations committee
Yes.
minutes? The food services report is operating with a deficit of $87,000. And they indicate, Ms. Biaggetti indicates that a portion of that was due to total equipment costs of about $32,000. What did they have to buy? And even if you deduct that, they're still down in revenues.
So they purchased, there was a redesign of the serving area at Adams. They also moved the Adams freezer, which used to be outside the building, inside the building, so that the staff no longer has to go outside to get anything out of the freezer. And they redesigned the serving line at Adams. There was some reconfiguration of the serving line at the high school, and there was some equipment that was bought for this whole process. If you take that $31,000 out of the $86,000 deficit, we are only about $5,000 different from where we were the same time last year. And we ended the year on a positive note. So
Okay.
looking at this, I mean, she's got some work to do to make this back up, but knowing that we invested in the program and bought this equipment and tried to improve the serving lines to make it a faster process for the students to go through, it was a good investment for us. And the report that we got at our meeting, for the month of October, she had made a profit of $6,000 just for the month.
Yeah.
So she's already working that deficit down.
It's not unusual for the first month for kids to be less apt to buy. They're adjusting to new schools. They're not sure when their lunch wave is. All that kind of stuff has small impacts in the beginning.
That was good to hear that it's where it was last year, pretty much,
That's right.
Yes.
without the equipment, so.
I have a brief question about the operations meeting. Linda, I was just curious, it looked like you had to post some financial reports to the district website. Was that
Yes.
arduous, or was that fairly straightforward?
No, so it's a new state law that requires us to post our financials quarterly as well as submit them to the town, which you guys already
We already
received them
get.
monthly. So I took the same, basically just the 3-page summary that you get of the financials, and we put it up on the website. And it's on the same page as our budget information. So it's not a big deal to do, it was just
Okay.
simply
I was wondering if
taking.
it was a burden or.
No, simply,
Pretty simple.
simply taking the same report that I already prepare for both boards, and just putting it on our website. And it'll be up there, updated quarterly, so the September one is on the website, and we'll post the other 3 after they occur.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else on anything for the Board of Education?
There was a couple meetings ago, mold, right? They had to mitigate some mold. Is that all taken care of? I think it was.
It's all clear, the
Adams.
room's been tested clean, there was nothing, everything was successfully remediated.
Great.
It's good news.
On page 14 of the warrants, there were 2 items, and I'm just asking, not because I have any issue with the cost, but Sensation Station Guilford, Inc. What is that?
There we go.
Yeah, right. Is it just for kids?
It's a contracted services for a special education students. Off the top of my head now, I'm drawing a blank on what they actually provide. I could
They have
follow.
occupational
Yeah, I think
health services, physical therapy, sensory
Sounds like
Yeah.
work for children who
For all
have.
ages,
yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
It's a great name.
Sorry, Jeff. Just for kids.
Tell us what on page 3 of the warrants, what the emergency response system setup is. That's something apart from security, $7,600 item.
On which page? of the
Page
warrants?
3.
3?
I'm sorry, Ken, which is?
Be
Safe?
Be Safe Technologies.
Yeah.
Emergency system.
Be Safe Technologies. is
Right in the
called.
middle.
Right.
Be safe, yeah.
This is the system that allows, if there is an emergency, it provides like layouts of the building so that first responders can see the layout of the building, know where rooms are, where access is. I'm not sure I don't remember specifically what they added on this one, but that's what they do.
So it's supplemental to the security system. Is
Right,
that is
yes.
that district-wide,
Yeah, all 7 schools.
that expense?
All 7 schools. It includes all 7 schools.
What category, what does that fall under? Is that capital?
No, it's a-
Security.
It comes with security systems?
Safety, yeah.
Safety, okay.
I've got to ask,
ask, I'm sure this is very old news and settled a long time ago, but it's a rookie question. Just some of the numbers of some of these suppliers, if it's Amazon or Pages or Landed Lumber, whatever else, it almost looks like, I can't tell what you purchased, but it almost looks like sales tax is involved. Do all the supply, does everybody know they can't charge us, they don't charge us sales tax?
They don't charge us, and if they do, we just take it off and we send them a certificate
Okay.
that says we are tax exempt and we
Good.
don't pay it.
Good.
I have a staff that follows that like a hawk.
And Bob, there's no silly questions on this board, so feel free.
Oh, wait, oh, stand back.
My first one was about the fire department, so.
On the travel seems to be running a little higher as a percentage this year than last year. It's around 35%. Is there more traveling going on?
No, that was, there was a stipend as part of Dr. Freeman's contract for travel. And so that part of his contract was, instead of being charged to a salary line, was charged to travel, because it was specifically a travel stipend, a mileage stipend.
Great, thanks.
Okay, anything else? Before we let you go? Otherwise?
Hardly note that this would be your first meeting in supreme leadership.
Supreme leadership, that's going to be a hard one to live up to. Mr. Cameron, yeah, right.
So we do have, prior to your meeting next month, the joint meeting with the Board of Ed and the Board of Finance to preliminary budget discussion. I understand the room has been scheduled.
6:30.
6:30
Right.
here, prior to your meeting on the 16th.
Good.
Right.
Perfect.
Terrific.
Thank you for reminding us.
Sure.
We're looking forward to it, the initial discussion, as always.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
With that, I would, after the report, would entertain a motion to accept the report of expenditures of the Board of Education for the month of October 2019 in the amount of $4,441,993.60.
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Great. Thank you both. Item number 6, review and approve report of expenditures for town government for October 2019. Mary Jo.
Oh, because you took my iPad.
Good evening. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I'd like to start off by just reminding all of you that you should have been invited to Thursday's capital improvement presentations.
Yes.
We will be starting at 8:30. You're all welcome to attend.
Has everything been posted yet?
It'd be asking Tracy to do that tomorrow.
Okay. I looked at it today just to see. Okay. No pressure, then.
That's here? That's going to be here?
No, it's the
It'll be
summer. Yep.
yes, at the selectmen.
Yep.
meeting. Great.
What's the meeting scheduled for? What time?
8:30.
8:30.
8:30 a.m.
12? 8:30, about 12. Whenever we get done.
8:30 till we're done.
Yep. Great. Thank you for the reminder. Okay. Should we start at revenue?
Sure.
Okay.
Overall, our revenues are trending on average of where they are normally at this time of year. I'll just remind you that last year, we still didn't have all of our tax collections in, which is why last year is a little bit lower, but where we are right now is about where we are year to year. The building department appears to be lower than prior years, but you'll note that it's right on track to where it would be in October, and we have yet to see the influx of the change of the fees. So that'll be coming once those fees start coming in that way. So the only thing I really wanted to bring to your attention is under other departmental, the state funding. The bonding package, as you probably already know, was not adopted as part of the state budget. So there is currently no funding for fiscal year 20 for Town Aid Road, LOSIP, and grants for municipal projects. The town engineer has already made adjustments to her projects, or project schedule for LOSUP. Since LOSUP goes into a special fund, it does not come through the general fund. But the potential loss of revenue for Town Aid Road and grants for municipal projects is about $425,000. And we do expect this money to eventually get bonded and come in, but I felt it was important to notify you that there is that potential at this point. I talk with CCM on a regular basis. Obviously, Matt is always in communication with the state, so as soon as we know that there's a change there, we'll certainly let you know. But the potential right now is the $425,000.
Chairman, that is a dilemma that every municipality in the state is currently facing. The governor has refused to issue bonding for those projects, apparently in relation to the negotiations over his transportation plan. So there is a significant amount of pressure being put on by CCM, by cost, and individual municipalities to get that money released. As you can imagine, there are some municipalities that have substantially more money at stake than we do, and it is crippling some of their budgets.
And these are for projects that have already been approved, is that correct?
These are our projects. These are our internal projects. It's not state-approved projects, but they're projects that we have approved and put on a drawing board.
Is this separate from the water main? Is the water main totally separate?
Totally
Water
separate.
main will be totally separate.
Okay.
Sure. That's a separate initiative to get funded.
Right, that's it.
What, we are very fortunate to be in a position that if we need to move forward with those projects, we can fund them ourselves because we have a pretty significant fund balance, and only to reimburse ourselves once the state revenues come in. So.
And if you attend our meeting on Thursday when the town engineer is
She will
presenting the
be
capital
talking
plan,
about those projects.
we will be talking about that at that time as well.
So is it going to result in any delay in the projects going forward?
Well, that's what I'm hoping to avoid. That's why part of our discussion on Thursday with Janice, to determine how she has reprioritized that stuff.
Yes, at the moment, the town engineer and myself have postponed those projects until we hear further from the boards. So that's why we'll be talking about it on Thursday.
Okay.
Do you know when the bonding committee is meeting?
I don't know when the next scheduled one is.
They've scheduled a couple and not held them, so.
Okay.
Those meetings are scheduled by the governor at his discretion.
Right.
So there's nothing on the calendar?
At this point, no.
Any questions on revenue?
Oh, certainly.
I'm sorry, if we
Sorry?
could just finish up with the.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So is the expectation that we're going to get the funding from the state eventually, or that it may be at a reduced amount, or we just
the
don't
money
know?
that's there because it was appropriated by the legislature in their budget. It's just a question of when the governor is going to release the bond proceeds,
But
go
we
to
would
the
expect
market
it
to
to be
release
fully
it.
funded,
Okay.
either funded or not funded,
Okay.
one or the other.
They just have to meet and vote to release the money. That's the issue.
And it appears it is being used as leverage to get support for the governor's transportation plan amongst the legislators. And the conventional thinking is that eventually the towns are going to pressure their state legislators into making a decision to support the governor and his transportation plan so they'll release the money. I think he's going to be forced into something more quickly than he might like. And no, that is not, does not constitute a quid pro quo.
Very good.
Go ahead, Ken, you had a couple for
Okay.
revenue.
An up and a down. We are seeing in revenue a big increase proportionately in tax collection, larger than last year. And the drop in fire, I wonder why that drop in fire?
Well,
About 8.5% down.
tax collection appears higher this year only because last year the revenue had not been posted to Munis because of shorthanded in the tax collector's office, although all the money had gotten into the bank.
I
The
see.
postings into Munis weren't there, so last year's number in
Anomaly.
comparison to other years is
Yeah, it's an
low.
anomaly to
Right,
other
so
years.
this year's number is on average of where we normally are.
Okay.
So, and your other one was?
Fire.
Fire.
Fire, Yeah, fire is a little bit lower than last year. We are waiting for a Medicare payment to come through. We haven't received the payment.
So the estimates were on pretty much on target.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's at 25%. We're, 33% through the year. So I don't anticipate any issue in that budget at this point.
Is the ambulance billing in arrears? Do I remember that correctly?
It used to be one month behind until they implemented their new billing system, and now everything is done in a more timely manner. So we are getting our billings in more regularly, and the majority of our money in. So we're not as behind as we might have been. Last year we saw an increase, and this year we're seeing that as well.
Okay.
So.
I thought that might have been the difference, but you got rid of that.
Not this particular.
Corrected that.
No, not this particular time.
How about a question about the finance department?
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like you're doing
We're
really
right
well.
on schedule.
Yeah.
We're right on schedule.
Okay, I would have thought maybe 33% now, right?
Well, the reason it's higher is because you have to remember that.
I'm not complaining.
No, I know you're not complaining. I can explain it.
Yeah.
We received a significant influx of funding in August and February. So in August, it brings in a significant amount of our budget, and then we start to use that money throughout the year, so we get less and less interest from between February and January, and then you'll see a large influx again in February until it goes down. So that's why we're at about 49%. By the end of December, we should be around 50 or a little higher than 50%.
More interest because more money came in early.
Correct.
Sounds great.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So I feel we're right on track this year.
More than on track.
Police revenue is higher too. Any reasons?
Mainly because of the projects the water
Overtime.
water company's doing. If you've been on Boston Street lately, you'll see 2 of our police cars there on a regular basis. Not only those projects, but others, but there have been more projects this year, and that's where the influx is coming.
Youth and Family Services revenue off? It's off a bit.
It's off a bit, but again, it fluctuates based on need, so, yeah.
It's a timing thing.
Yeah. There's no issue there at this point. It's hard to compare one year to the other. You're looking at a snapshot of 2 particular years, like in tax collection, where we have a reason for one being low. So it's a good way to look at it, but yet it's not always 100% accurate. So there are those ups and downs from year to year.
Anything else on revenue? Expenditures? Anything worth noting on the expenditures? They look pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
on the town side, you'll see we're, within 1.1 of where we were last year. And if you look from budget to budget, we're, right where we should be at this time of year. A lot of 30%, between 30 and 40% there. I don't have any particular issue with any department. I will note that the debt retirement principal, I know we've talked about this each month, but in January, we'll be paying our energy performance contract payment in January. So at that point, I'll be coming to you with a transfer to make this line whole, to bring in money for the credits. Bob, we have premium credits that we've set aside when we bond. We put that money in our general fund, and when we budget for our debt, we anticipate the use of some of those funds. So although that particular budget looks like it's over budget $356,000, it's because that money is sitting in fund balance, and we'll be ready to transfer that as soon as the payment is made on the energy performance contract.
That's a good segue.
Okay.
So if we're making the payments on the contract and we don't know if we're getting the savings yet, how does that kind of play out? Because they're sort of a year late down the road, right?
We have a lease with Bank of America that we signed that we have to make our payments. So we can't hold up our lease payments at all. So the payments are going, right.
Once we do the reconciliation. We will, Johnson Controls will make good on the guarantees. So that will take place once the contract is completely finished and they provide us with the analysis tool to do that evaluation. As you may recall, during last year's budget season, the Board of Selectmen's budget was dramatically decreased in several budgets, departmental budgets related to energy, particularly electricity. I think there was, what, 8?
The library for sure had the largest decrease.
So we know we've already seen savings in the.
So they haven't been quantified.
We just haven't quantified.
You can see them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, we saw them right away.
And
So how will this play out, though? Will the study be done and retroactively? They'll say, yeah, you met your goal, even though we have the punch items and we weren't quite complete with all the things that, that Johnson needs to do.
Once we get the final completion, we'll be able to go back and take a look, and they've already started to plug in all of our expenses related to the energy costs. We have the historical stuff built into the analysis tool, which was prior to the implementation of these energy measures. And now, as we look at the respective energy costs today, we'll balance that against what it was, and if we made the bogey, we're in good shape. If not, then we're going to have to start writing checks to us.
Okay, so there's no possibility that they'll say, oh, well, we weren't done, so we can't guarantee the savings for that first year. Okay,
No, the clock starts when the project is completed.
How much approximately is that payment? It's probably in here somewhere.
I'm going to say 90, our portion is 92. The total's close to 500,000.
Per year?
I think, yeah, our portion is about 98. The Board of Ed has the substantial savings on their end.
Breakdown of the cost of the measures was roughly split 80-20. 80% of the measures were involving the school projects, and 20% on the town side.
Okay. And most of the school projects were exclusive of the high school. The high school had some.
Correct.
But most of it was in the other older buildings.
Right.
Anything else on expenditures?
Legal is down.
At the moment.
Are we expecting it to stay that way? Or?
We have five
contracts,
contract negotiations this year, so I'm going to remember you said that a few months from now.
You'll be remember, Mr. Beatty?
Thanks for jinxing me, Jeff.
I'm not trying to jinx anything, it's just good to see.
Yes, we are anticipating.
Hopefully, there'll be agreements reached quickly.
That's right.
Okay. Just moving forward, warrants, special fund.
I have a couple of questions on special funds.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I see that we've paid invoices of two substantial invoices on the water main project. I wondered where that project was, how much is left? We've just paid $265,000 more on it, on those two invoices.
They started in June. They've cut through from Old Sageman's Head Road over to Lower Road, which was basically the wooded property on the easement provided by the Fishers. They've completed down to Lower Road, and I believe they're now actually finished on Daniels Avenue up to the intersection of Daniels Avenue and Mulberry Point Road. And now they're going to start on the other side, the back side, and start some of the streets on the back side. There was an 18-month to two-year window afforded the contractor on this. And again, the project kicked off in June. So we're still in the early stages of the project.
They have made a fair amount of progress.
They've made some very substantial progress so far.
What's the
So there's a
total
possibility that we'll be closer to that 18-month, and maybe even underneath that 18-month window.
The total budget for that?
Total budget is $5.6 million.
Yeah.
6.5.
So we're right at the
6.5
beginning of it.
backwards.
Of which we've spent $1 million so far.
And someone...
20%.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
On another issue, could someone explain the difference to me between sidewalk maintenance and pedestrian improvements?
Sidewalk maintenance, we have a special fund that we put money aside each year specifically for just that, maintaining our current sidewalks. Could be replacement, maintenance, that sort of thing. So we have a special fund set aside for that. The pedestrian project is a specific project that we have budgeted for. Matt can probably speak to it a little bit more than I can, but it is the addition of new pedestrian walkways that currently aren't in existence, so.
On Route 77.
Yes.
Route 7, that's the Route 77 sidewalk that we are going to, that the state has approved for completion. We used the alternative transportation money that was available. Actually, Representative Scanlon helped us get several years ago. There was discussions about potentially using that for the Nut Plains pathway. We reallocated that money to this project, which is basically provides safe passage from Adams Middle School up to basically up to the cemetery, where so many of our students on a daily basis are walking from Adams up to the police department basketball courts, the arts center, and then the racket club, as well as the couple of the medical offices alongside there. Our most recent development, we had a preliminary design presented to us, which included a traffic light at the bottom of the exit ramp at 58. You may have read something in the newspaper recently. There was a fatal collision there 2 weeks ago. That is our most dangerous intersection in town. So the project was designed to provide sidewalks. The preliminary design is they'll extend. There is already a sidewalk on the west side of coming out of Adams. It will cross at that first intersection with the exit ramp from 95 and the entrance ramp. Then we'll cross that entrance ramp underneath the highway along that side, and then there'll be connections across to the police department complex, and then one farther north into to the racket club.
So there's going to be one sidewalk along the west side?
West side, right.
Okay.
Will the underpass have to be wider, or will it fit sidewalks?
No, it'll fit in there. There's already a passageway in there.
Okay.
They may have to narrow that a little bit to create a little bit more buffer. But mind you, this is a project that was approved through the Council of Governments. When we had to reallocate the money, Council of Governments approved it. Council of Governments issued the RFP for a consulting firm, and that consulting firm was selected, and that consulting firm will work closely with the State Department of Transportation, because guess what? That is one of their roads, and also we anticipate now that DOT will pay for that traffic light, and we're hoping to see if there are any other safety improvements that they're willing to pick up as part of that.
There's a traffic light at the south ramps, right?
No.
Are we talking on 77 at exit 58?
That's a little further up in front of the police department, which is basically a light that triggers stoppage of traffic for emergency vehicles coming out of that facility.
No, I think
No,
he
but
meant
there
it
is a light coming,
south of 95.
Yeah, sorry, south of
You
95.
mentioned it earlier, on the off-ramp, as you're heading
Going
on 95
north.
north.
You're coming north.
And the on-ramp, there's a traffic signal right there,
I'm missing.
on the south side of 95.
Come off exit 58, take a
Coming
right
right
on
back.
Take a right.
67, there's a traffic light there.
Yes, there is one there.
I was just thinking how close they'll be together, right on the other sides of the highway. right?
Irritatingly close.
They've
Yeah,
got,
very close.
yeah, but they've got all kinds of management programs for those lights that trigger,
Yeah,
when
so they're
one
synced.
goes and when the other
I
goes.
follow.
So.
If people can figure out the Goose Lane
I was
off-ramp,
just
they
gonna
can
say, I go
figure
Goose
that out.
Lane every
Exactly.
day, there's,
That's right.
you know when they're gonna turn.
That is an interesting set of
Yes,
lights
it
there,
is.
isn't it?
When you take a right at that light all the time off the exit ramp and go south towards the green, you kind of forget the light's there. You really do, because you're taking a right and you're just making sure there's no one coming from the left. But if you have to take a left there, you are definitely paying attention to that light.
Yeah.
You have,
And it's-
well,
and
not
then
that you don't have a choice, but
It's acknowledged by the state that that whole layout, particularly
Yeah.
relative to the commuter parking lots, is one of the most dangerous situations, because no matter what, coming out of the parking lot on the west side, and you want to get on the highway, you've got to cross 2 lanes of traffic in order to then make an immediate left turn. But significant number of challenges there. That light should go some way to help alleviate some of those problems as well.
Not only that, there's school buses that pick up children in the commuter lots in the morning. It
Right.
is extremely dangerous there.
Yeah, it's very busy in the morning.
That's a long answer to that question, sorry.
Sidewalks.
But just, but just to follow up on that, the money that we're spending is, a portion of that's gonna be reimbursed by the state.
Yes, actually, we're using LoSiP money for that project, as well as the bulk of the project is being paid for. Our 20% match is coming out of LoSiP funds.
So we'll see this going forward for a few months, but then we'll see revenue coming back from the state.
Right. Well, maybe not. It depends, up to the LoSiP, up to our contribution amount.
Right.
We bill out once a month for all of our projects.
Is that being impacted by the freeze?
No.
Okay.
No, we have the LoSiP, we have LoSiP money already in the bank that we had set aside for this project. It's additional projects that are being affected at this point.
On the special fund warrants, there's a expenditure for Kittredge Food Service for Baldwin. Why is that on the town of Guilford special fund warrant?
Because that's a bonded project. All bonded projects, schools
Oh,
and
okay,
town.
okay,
The Baldwin,
yeah.
Any updates on the, I see the invoice for, a few invoices for Malone, McBroom, and Pullman and Conway. Any updates with our friends down in the Army Corps of Engineers?
Not of note yet. Army Corps of Engineers finally responded. We, actually earlier today, our case agent who had been out for the last 6 weeks with Lyme disease, got back and said that they will have their responses to our most recent request for approval for the mitigation projects with the Army Corps of Engineers. So we should hopefully hear shortly. DEP is also had not yet rendered the final decision on the remediation projects. They're waiting to see what Army Corps of Engineers has to say.
So there were good positive indications from the state, and we're just waiting for the Army Corps to say what it needs to say, and then hopefully that will bring everything to a conclusion.
To a close, right. And if the Army Corps does not agree, we're prepared to move forward with with DEP, because they've indicated that those projects appear to meet their qualifications.
Great. Any, just to follow up on that, any remediation that we haven't, have we done some of what they've asked us to do yet, or no?
As it relates to the 3 road elevation projects, no. We have done some remediation related to the marina.
That was
notice of violations. That was the traffic. That was all been removed and plantings were done. But this is the 3 road elevation projects where you have to then go and recreate you have to recreate tidal wetlands areas commensurate with, there's a formula that you have to, it's 3 for every one. So that process, we've made a proposal related to that. We think it qualifies, and DEP's preliminary indications are yes. Army Corps of Engineers has a different set of standards.
I see. Great, thanks.
You got it.
Much as I want special, I'll get 2. But I want to go back to Veronica's question regarding the, we heard about the walk-in freezer at Adams. When I go across, it's a $3.5 million Baldwin building improvement, but it's the Adams freezer. Is that because of the way the bond's written?
Yeah.
Yeah. It allows flexibility to be able to.
Right, every time, the particular project may have more than just Baldwin, but that's all that fits on
But
our
that-
description. However, we do allow for additional expenditures from our bonded funds as long as they meet the terms of the initial resolution. I do request approval from bond counsel on most of those decisions before we move forward. So even though the walk-in freezer was not initially part of that bond project, it did meet the terms of that authorization.
Okay. And then Town of Madison.
I told you someone would ask that question.
Circle Beach Neck Road, and then office supplies.
Right, for those that
paving project.
For those that don't know it, Guilford owns Guilford has its property boundary includes 11 houses at the end of Neck Road out on Circle Beach. I met with that neighborhood group months ago related to road elevation, because they have issues getting in there at the high tide. They just can't, it's not passable. So we worked with the water company who was bringing a new water main in down that area, and we got the water company to pick up the cost, a couple of extra costs associated with rehabilitating that road. So it was repaved, and they agreed to raise the elevation on a couple of portions on that. So that money is what came to us because of the work that the water company did in Guilford. We are reimbursing Madison because Madison let the contract out. They were responsible for the contract for the paving company. So we're reimbursing Madison with money that was provided to us by the water company. That's why it's in a special fund.
It's a tangled web we weave.
And office supplies was the line item in that fund, so we just used it.
Okay. That actually was the question.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't anything else, but how do you do 19,000 in office
Lots
supplies
of paper.
on a paving project? That's interesting.
That was our portion.
But okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
So will the road be one level in Madison and another in Guilford, or is it going to be?
No, it's just there were areas within the road that they could actually buttress and raise a little bit. If you take a ride on it, you wouldn't notice a difference, except at high tide, where there are areas now on the Circle Beach Road, the Guilford side, where there's no longer flooding.
Yeah, if you go down to the state ramp there too, you'll see the erosion.
And this turned out to be a pretty fortuitous opportunity with the water company, because in our coastal resilience plan, Circle Beach Road is, if anyone is bored to tears or hasn't seen it, and wants to take a read, Circle Beach Road is specifically mentioned in that document as a road that does not warrant future investment because it's built on shifting sand. That's not something that the 11 residents of Circle Beach Road like to hear, but they are fully aware of it. And this compromise and this solution has made them happy.
I bet they were hit pretty hard too with the hurricanes.
Yeah, and the problem is they get it from both sides, because that's
Yep.
marshland behind them, as well as the ocean, and the Long Island Sound on the front side.
Warrants, anything on any of the warrants? I'm opening it up. Special
Yeah,
fund,
I don't know.
weekly. Go ahead, Ken.
It seems like the same warrant issued twice to Bloom Shapiro. Am I wrong? Page 2.
The town, it's two payments, two accounts. The town and the Board of Ed share the cost of that. So one half is the town's portion and the other half would be the Board of Ed portion. I don't know where that is, but I'm certainly
Yeah.
I'm certain that's the answer.
Well, one
Is it
says
15th?
Board of Ed, one does say
Okay,
Board.
correct.
The other
So-
says annual audit, but they're both for 15,000 each. Page
Correct.
2 and page 12.
Yes. So it's a $30,000 invoice paid half by the town and half by the Board of Ed.
When will they be making the presentation to our board?
Well, I was hoping that they might be able to come December, but we are still waiting for our OPEB and pension disclosures. And the only reason we're waiting is because we changed companies this year. Although we stayed with Milliman, it is a different office and they have different systems, and we chose this year to go all in and to change to their new system, because moving forward it's going to be so much easier. So actually I'm waiting for it any day now. I was supposed to possibly get a draft today and I didn't, so that'll be coming soon of those valuations. I'm also already receiving the draft of the audit without that, so that we can move forward. I'm really trying to push for the December meeting, but I can't guarantee it. We're this close, though.
Okay. Anything further on warrants?
On the weekly warrants, the November 18th weekly warrants, there was one item for, it says Daigle Law Group Maintenance Service Contracts Internal Affairs Investigation.
Which one?
It's about
down towards the
halfway
bottom.
through.
Yeah,
Halfway down, under the two Eversource. I don't know if that's something we can talk about now, but there's this one.
No, I can't.
Yeah, we can't
Okay,
discuss the.
that's fine.
I had one. Page 28.
Are you back on, go ahead.
I just wanted to know where we were on tree removal. There, you know, it comes on throughout the year, but is our budget still holding up pretty nicely on that?
I guess I'd have to go back to,
It is, we're in relatively decent shape, owing largely to the fact that Eversource has become a little better partner with us, particularly as it relates to a significant amount of tree removal being done up on County Road and West Road. So, although they've expended their tree budget for 2019, there will be even more funds available. Kevin McGee works closely with Eversource to identify those trees that they can take down, as opposed to us. They've actually done some that fell within our right-of-way, complete tree removals, as opposed to trimming.
So with their help, we should be okay.
Depends on how bad it's, a couple of storms and it gets blown
Depends
away.
on how severe the winter.
And Eversource is under pressure from the previous administration in Hartford, has significantly increased their tree trimming budgets.
we're currently 40% through our tree budget.
That's where we are? Big winter ahead.
We had a lot of catch-up to do as well.
And we also did remember, we have an ash borer disease out there as well, which has created another, it's more than just, you know, another host of trees that need to be removed because they're dead.
I think we were pretty much, had gone through almost all of our budget by this point last year. We went through that tree budget really quickly last year.
I remember.
So 40% is good so far.
Good. Well, you know, you see $10,000 in invoices in here. It's a big chunk.
Yeah. If you ever had to have a tree taken down on your own property, you'll know how quickly that money goes.
I do.
Okay, shall we move on to medical? So medical benefits, pretty much where we would have expected in terms of the claims, except for the catastrophic claims. Big jump there. So, unfortunate for those particular members, but
Right, our premium goes up every year, but, we're already at 600,000,
Yeah.
and it's only October.
it didn't jump like this last year. This is. yeah,
We
this
were
is a big
somewhat
jump.
expecting this, though, weren't we?
Well, we've had.
There were a few that
There were a few
we were
substantial.
waiting on.
We have a couple
Yeah.
really substantial ones. It's,
Yeah,
unfortunately, only takes a couple
right.
right,
claims.
as we just noticed, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else in medical?
So I'm just curious, do you think that on the ISL perspective that we're, where we are compared to last year, are we going to recover our premium? I guess a little soon to tell, huh, with just 1 month.
With
Yeah,
that kind of jump.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell. Since I've been here, we've covered the premium.
Yep, it's kind
So,
of substantial increase
Yeah.
this year over last year, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that
Mhm.
in the previous meeting, so.
correct.
It's going to be kind of interesting to see if that pans out. It usually does, though, right?
Like I said,
Been our
since I've been
experience.
here, it has.
Yeah.
Mhm. Hard to
Okay.
say at this point, but with that type of jump, you could see how easily it could.
Have all the deductions been made from the surplus? This is the one
Yes.
we see now? Okay.
All right, anything else?
Comment on building permits, they've really shot up. So I think it's the highest number of building permits in a percentage way in about 12 years. Where we are right
It
now.
is tracking high.
It's
We'll
doing well.
we'll see if it stays that way, but.
For 4 months of the year, if we continue that pattern, we'll be
Correct.
okay.
Last year, we had many months with 1 or 0. We've had
Oh, yeah.
3 at a time.
Particularly with the upgrade, or the uptick in the fee structure too.
Correct, we should
That's
see a
true, too.
correlation, we
Yeah,
should
there
see a
could be little bit-
correlation,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's true, yeah.
Of course,
Absolutely.
those so far have come in under our old fee structure, but.
Maybe that's why there's the bump.
Yeah, there you
Right.
go.
That's why they're all getting in now.
Right. They
Anticipation.
went, and those went in effect, if I remember correctly, October 1st, right? It was it? It was 18th, October 18th, okay. October 18th. Better repeat that, October 18th. Not the first.
When we present a budget to you in February, we'll have 3 months of history with the new rate structure in place, as we anticipate increasing the revenue line item as a result of those changes that were made. So we'll have a quarter's worth of history under our belt.
Anything else for the town, Mary Jane or Matt? If not, then I will. Sorry.
Need a motion?
Nah, well, I had it, and then all of a sudden I, hit something, and yeah, I got it. Motion. I entertain a motion. I always have it typed out, because otherwise I'll get the number messed up. Entertain a motion to approve the report of expenditures of the town for the month of October 2019 in the amount of $6,375,710.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions or recusals? Okay. Thank you, Mary Jane.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item number 7, consider and take possible action on Board of Finance meeting calendar for 2020. Hopefully everyone had a chance to look at it. It's pretty standard dates for 2020. Keep in mind that the one meeting that usually does not appear on here is the subcommittee meeting in January before our Board of Finance meeting, which is usually the 6 o'clock to 7:30 meeting where we go over the books that we will have received from the Board of Education. But other than that, all these dates are pretty straightforward, meeting the charter and calendar year that we typically follow. So, anybody?
Do you need a motion
anything?
to accept it?
Yeah, we do. So,
I move
motion to
that we
accept.
accept the 2020 meeting schedule for the Board of Finance.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I didn't think so. Number 8, building permits, committee reports. Kind of touched on that already, so we could move on. Item number 9, old business. Discuss and take possible action on appointment of audit review subcommittee. Last couple of months, we've been talking about the RFP for the auditors. I had asked everyone to consider their serving on that subcommittee. I wanted to wait specifically until this meeting when we had our new member on board to make sure that we had all input. So how many people do we, is it 3? It would have to be 3, right? Because if we do.
At least 3.
Yeah, definitely.
They're just gonna,
3.
they're just bringing the consensus back to the whole
Right,
board.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. So we could, interest in serving on the audit review subcommittee?
What does it entail?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Well, when the auditor RFPs
Just
come in,
reviewing the
responses.
RFPs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And making a recommendation to the full board.
Possibly having presentations of certain, either by the subcommittee could either decide to have the presentations to the subcommittee, or you can decide to
Only if you want.
have the whole board, however you choose. But
I mean, the other option is we could all do it, but then there's a scheduling issue trying to get everyone together, so it's always easier to go with a smaller subcommittee.
I'd be pleased to be part of that.
I would look to the experience of, when it comes to auditors and
And we had a few, we've just gone through a couple of RFPs on pensions, so
I would welcome that.
quite used to it.
We're experienced, how about?
Yeah, experience is good in this case, yes.
I used to be 6'2".
I'll help out too.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it as well.
Megan? Okay, great.
Was it Jeff?
So
Yeah.
Jeff, Megan, and Bob.
So just so you know, I have that RFP about ready to go. Based on you guys meeting today, I'm going to forward it for one last review through our purchasing department. I do have it going out in July, coming back in February. January, sorry, January.
Wish it was July.
And, you know, having the subcommittee meet at a time before you're getting the budgets. While the Board of Selectmen are working on budgets, we might have some time to do that, but I will forward that to the entire committee, but if the 3 members of the subcommittee can specifically look at the dates that I have tentatively put in place and get back to me with comments, then we can just have it ready to go.
Great.
And just as a side note, you need to, by charter, approve the appointment of an auditor no later than April 1st. So you have a timeline that you have to meet.
Yes.
Regardless of whether or not you continue with the existing vendor or select someone new.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you all. Any other items under old business? Item number 10, new business. I was going to bring up the capital plan presentations on Thursday, but I think we're good on that. So anybody else have anything under new business? Okay, item number 11, public forum. And with that, I think I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
The only further discussion I would have is happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you in December. Actually, we'll see you on Thursday, most of you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.